Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. I am Bill McMinn along with Eric Barfell, and we are talking about perseverance in this one, meaning hang in there, don't give up. And one of the famous speeches in World War II is Winston Churchill talking to his people, and it was a big, longer speech. And toward the end, he said, "We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." And I love that, man. You talk about a guy that lived in his day that motivated his people. It was that guy because he realized them in France, and they're like, even if no one comes to our aid, we're not giving up.
Wow.
So apparently America had not entered into the arena at this point, and France got dominated by Germany. Mm-hmm. They're bombing the ever-living daylights out of England. I mean, they were rough days for the English people. And to hear that speech, we can't give up. Like, guys, we cannot surrender our country no matter what. And I love that. And I think as a Christian, there's got to be that mentality of, I'm not going to quit no matter what. Like, no matter what people say, no matter what happens to me, I'm just not going to quit. I got to persevere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter. One thing, in my sport of cycling, I try to do a little more like endurance, like longer efforts and stuff. I'm not good at it. There's always a lot of people who are like way better than me, but I don't give up. And that's one thing I feel like I'm kind of recognized for in my little circle of cyclist friends. I'll always try.
Right.
And every time I get a little bit better, and I always get dropped, and then it's like later in the ride, 5 miles to go, 3 miles to go. I don't get dropped till like the very end.
Right.
I just can't hang on anymore, but it's like, I don't give up. I keep going. I'm always going to show up the next Saturday, always going to try my best.
Yeah, what level of cyclists are you competing against when you're doing these? Kind of like you're in a virtual...
It's not races, it's just group rides. No, this is like in the summer.
Oh, this is
stuff.
the real group ride. Okay.
The real world. Yeah, I mean, they're just stronger than me. They're just better than me. They just go faster than me, and they can hold it for longer, basically. And it's just like, some days I can in the first half, but some days when we're holding like 25 miles an hour, it's like,
it's brutal.
I can't do this for two full hours.
I'd be like 16 miles an hour. Like, I wouldn't even be close. The rest of us, though, the normal people wouldn't even be close to 25 miles an hour.
But I mean, even my parents, they just go leisurely, and on their 30th anniversary, they're like, "Wow, we did 30 miles." I'm like, "That's awesome." They're like, "Oh, it took us forever." Seeming. I was like, "But you did it, and that's what matters."
Right.
And that's a celebration of a marriage milestone, and you celebrated by cycling the same.
Right.
And I was like, I think that was just like the coolest thing.
Right. So,
because it is tough, especially
as you get like that 25-year anniversary when it finally gets here for you, and like way in the future, make sure you get Bethany a bike and just say, or you can say, we'll run 25 miles.
I don't know how.
She could do it. She has done it. Not only could she do it, and she has, because she ran a marathon one time.
Yeah, it's been a few years. Yeah.
Talk about perseverance, though.
Right.
Oh, your wife would kick my butt on a run. Like, I know, even now, she's not running. She's still, I know she would crush me because I'm just not fast. That's that's one thing I always, when I like to run in the morning when I can, because no one's on the trail, and I don't have to worry about somebody outrunning me from behind, sometimes that's the thing where you're thinking, I'm going to get outrun. And so then, if like you pass them, you don't know where the person behind you is going to turn around. So then you start running faster. So I've had a couple days like that recently. Now my feet feel like I'm starting to get plantar fasciitis. So I'm like, because you're trying to run sprints and you're trying to do this stuff.
Right. No, I've done one, maybe 2 5Ks in my whole life. And they were fundraisers in the county for some good stuff. And I was like, oh, it's only 5K is 3 point some miles.
Right.
Like, it's not that bad. I used to do it in high school all the time. Dude, I'm so removed from high school now. It was brutal. But my goal is to do it not like at least jog the whole time. I think I stopped a couple times. I kept it moving. I kept walking, but it's like I'm like gasping for air right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it was cold. It was in the fall. My throat is just on fire. Oh, it was.
I mean, that's all I do 3 times a week. Like, I'm out there running the 5K pretty much distance, and so I'm constantly doing it. So
that's good.
I love it. But that first half mile, you're like, what am I doing? Like, seriously, what am I doing right now? Because you're like huffing and puffing, and it kind of hurts sometimes. And what I find is my last mile is usually my fastest mile.
Okay.
Like, I get stronger as I go, and I get faster because I'm starting to loosen up, and it just goes better for me than the initial mile goes.
And then my last story, my friend Keenan Franley, this is a few years ago. He had a goal. He's like, Eric, I want to bike a century, 100 miles. And I want to do it before his first child was born. Just, one more milestone he wanted to hit. I was like, okay, so I got this other buddy. So there's 3 of us. Keenan designed the route, like all these roads in Ashtabula County. He found every hill in the whole county, all in one 100-mile ride. Man, it was freezing cold in the morning. It's pouring rain. Then it's drizzling. And it was, like, condition-wise, miserable. We're 8 miles in. My feet, my socks are just completely saturated. And I'm looking at my other buddy like, are we actually going to do this? Like, the sky is so dark and cloudy. It's raining. I'm like, we have like 5 more hours. Like, let's just do it next weekend. It will be that much better. But because I was with them, we did not quit. And we did the whole thing. Yeah. And it got a little better, warmed up a little bit, it dried out. But I mean, that first 8 miles out of 100,
right?
I was like, are you guys ready? Because, like, I'm done when you're done. But if we're going to keep going, okay. So going back to perseverance, like having people alongside you who are running the same race.
So it wasn't fun the whole way?
Absolutely not.
Was it fun later when you thought about it?
Yeah, very type 2 fun, if you will.
That's like, where I was going.
Back, yeah, it was a blast. And like I've used that as an example, but it's like, if it was just me, oh no, I would have quit.
Right.
I wouldn't have even gotten up. I would have woke up, saw that it was raining, gone right back to bed.
Right.
But I had 2 other guys doing it with me, counting on me in the sense. I was like, all right.
That's perseverance.
We'll do it together.
And spiritually, that's the way it has to be. Like, you have to keep your faith. You have to persevere. Now, sometimes other people being in it with you, definitely helps you when you don't feel like you're all alone. You're out there by yourself. I think, that's when you're that lone wolf, it probably gets harder. Yeah. But you need to be there. And it says in Matthew 10:22, you'll be hated by everyone because of me. The one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Perseverance of the saint is a clear doctrine. The ones who are going to be saved are the ones who keep at it. You can't give up. Matthew 24:12-13, because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And then he talks about the gospel being preached everywhere. Revelation has pretty much the same thing. Be faithful, even to the point of death, and I will give you life as your victor's crown. So you've got Revelation, New Testament, is this concept of you've got to stay with it. You can't give up. Yeah. But I fear at times that people are tempted to give up. And one of the things that he mentioned in Matthew 24 is the love of most will grow cold. Why would people quit? The love of most will grow cold. Then another question he asks, when I return to earth, will I find faith? So to me, when I'm looking at, what are the temptations for people to quit? Well, he mentioned people's love kind of dying out. And then he also mentioned, will I find faith? Like, are people still going to be believing in me? So those are 2 areas. I think our love and our faith are 2 things that we could take a look at and say, are we standing strong in that? Yeah.
Yeah. No, even things like if you're starting something up, it's like, is this going to be worth my time and effort? Because I have no idea what the end result's going to look like. I don't know. Are you going to continue to pursue that? Right. And so for me, I'm not much of a visionary, but if I know someone who's gone before and like exercise and fitness or some event or whatever, and they're like, oh, this was a big hit, like well worth it, well worth the money and the time and the energy. Oh, okay. Like, let's give it a swing. Right. Let's give it a try.
But what about your Christianity? What would cause you to quit your Christianity? See, he's talking about what your faith is and your walk with God, that there were people actually quitting. We see people quit on church. We see people quit on God and walk away. People that were strong, next thing you know, they're living just like the rest of the world, and they're not. What happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to that you're quitting? And that's where I'm getting with the love part and the faith part. Well, maybe 2 components are the love of most will grow cold. Well, maybe as a church, people are quitting. Perhaps they're not experiencing that love. Like, they're not experiencing people care about them. They're experiencing perhaps judgment or criticism. They're not really experiencing people love on them. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people, especially if you're new to church and new to the faith, it's like kind of exploring what it's all about. And you have a lot of previous ideas of what you think it might be. I could see that.
Right.
you're like, because you expect one thing and it's maybe something, it may be worse,
Right.
maybe it is what you expected and not a good thing. No, I think that's the importance of like handshake time. Like you're
Right.
meeting new people, reaching out beyond your own bubble, beyond
Right.
your little clique. Yeah, it's great to have your own best friends and everything, but like reach beyond that.
Right.
Because there's people who
I agree.
need that connection, need that belonging in a sense, you know?
Right. So yeah. So you continue along, and you're helping people, you're loving people, your faith. So I'm thinking about those things. I'm like, okay, those are definitely things that we should watch out for. I think of the seed sower parable, and what he talked about there, like good seed. Well, the good seed was the fruit that endured. Like it was the seed that went in and it grew a crop, and you're actually bearing fruit.
Yeah. Right.
And you got 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold, whatever it is. But the two seed soils that we could look at would be, you came to the time of trial and you quit.
Yeah.
Or the cares of the world choked it out. I think so. So if you look at the words of Christ, what would cause somebody to quit? Well, trial could, and also the cares of the world. You just got busy. You just got caught up. You kind of got not really a priority for you. I think a lot of people are right there. I mean, they didn't, some of them didn't intend to quit church or not. They just got caught up in life, and it could have been COVID. It could have, I just didn't come anymore. I got used to watching on TV. I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, life happened,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, 3 years are going by. Next thing you know, it's going to be another 5 on top of that. And
Right.
so the cares of the world, I think, are two things that could do it
Some
too.
other better option comes up. Oh yeah, I just prefer to spend my Sunday morning
Right.
this way. It's like, well, it seems like you were coming for the social aspect or
Right.
something, and or my friend doesn't go here anymore, so I don't really go here. It's like, well,
Yeah. What about
weren't
communion?
really
What
in
about, some
you
of
weren't
the
really in the
sacraments?
faith then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think somebody who doesn't go to church I would never say they're not going to heaven. You didn't go to
Yeah.
church. I mean, I'm not even beginning to say that. I'm not saying that they lack faith or their faith ended. These are people, like when it says persevering to the end, these are people that at the end of the game don't have faith. Like the people Christ is talking about, when I come to earth, am I going to find faith there?
Right.
Because that's a challenge as things get more dull a little bit. As we come towards the end of the time, the skies, spiritually speaking, get a little darker. Sometimes it's harder to maintain that faith because the ugliness that we're seeing around us. I would clearly say that people are part of the problem. In other words, why do people discourage to the point of wanting to quit and give it up? It's based on how they've been treated by other Christians. And we need to be making sure that we treat people with love, that we treat people the way that God told them to, that we not be that reason that somebody wanted to quit on church.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I have the exact same mentality in youth group, and I tell my leaders this often. It's pretty obvious to see the brand new kid who just walks in and because they stay in the gym like this.
Right.
No, they're not talking to anybody. No one's talking to them. It's like, that's who you should look for.
Right.
Go to them, meet them, introduce them. Now, on the flip side, I also tell the brand new students, like, if I meet them on Sunday morning, whatever, say, do your absolute best to come here 3 weeks in a row.
Right.
Come here with an open mind, bring
Right.
your Bible. That way you meet other people, you know their name, they learn your name. Yeah, it takes a couple weeks. Don't expect it to be remembered on the second time. But in 3 weeks' time, then you can make probably a sound judgment.
Right.
If you came in and you had a good attitude and everything, because you're not going to remember somebody's name 1 week to the next week.
No, I think you're giving them wise decision. But then once they start, you don't want them quitting on God. And one of the problems that we're having, there's probably a lot of teenagers that grow up going to church that leave, go to college, and no longer go. You're talking about a myriad of people that would say they're God believers, perhaps even God-fearers, that aren't really participating in faith.
Right.
I think another issue for people at times, why would they want to bail out? I think if their prayers didn't get answered, I think if they feel like, what am I doing? I prayed about this. I didn't really see anything different because I prayed about a specific thing, and that discouragement, perhaps evil could use it. Maybe it's just our own thoughts kind of get the best of us, and we start questioning things. Is God really there? Is this really true?
Yeah.
Did Christ really come back from the dead? Right? I mean, I can see a lot of people asking questions.
Absolutely.
Right now, there's no other religion where you have somebody who came back from the dead and all that testimony. I mean, that's one thing where if somebody's going to bail out on Christianity, I would say, well, what else are you jumping to? Because I don't see anything better on that horizon out there other than this. You know, there's a lot of great teaching and things like that. But those unanswered prayers, I think problems that you encounter in your life that get overwhelming make you want to give up.
Absolutely.
So
no, and that's the old saying, when the going gets tough.
Yeah.
What happens?
Tough get going.
Yeah, fill in the blank. You tell me. And so some people are like, I roll over and go back to bed. That's what I do. Well, yeah, and it shows sometimes, you know, but sometimes it is getting up and getting out and everything, like being active, staying active. And that, to me, that's the importance of like being active now and having that discipline now. Opening up your Bible, knowing how to read the Bible, knowing how to study the Bible, knowing to serve and to be involved. Like in the previous podcast, we just talked about like staying active in it. Because when you remain active, it's a lot easier to just maintain.
Oh, yeah. You get out of the habit.
To start it all over again.
Yeah, you get out of the pattern going, it gets really tough. But I feel, you know, I sense at times, you know, people talk about being church hurt. I've heard that. I've talked to some of my own family members, not my immediate family, but a little bit outside that ring. And they'll talk about it. You know, I don't know. Like, I didn't get out of them what exactly happened. I know they don't go to church. I know they don't want anything to do with it. And it's sad because, you know, you don't see that perseverance where they're sticking with it, even though they're raised to believe and they have parents who believe in Jesus Christ, parents who go to church. They're choosing not to go to church. Well, when you say you're church hurt, something happened.
Right.
I mean, somebody either took advantage of your trust or somebody didn't live up to what you thought they should be as a Christian, and then that discouraged you on the whole. Where my mentality on that has always been, listen, you can have a bad doctor. You don't throw out medicine because of a bad doctor. You don't throw out the law because of a bad lawyer. You don't throw out church because of a bad pastor.
Right.
They're going to be bad in any profession there is. I don't care what it is.
True.
There's going to be somebody there that shouldn't be there. I don't want to throw out everything because I had a bad experience. And sometimes, you know, I'll see people, well, they get mad at something here, then they're not going to church. I said, okay, well, that explains why they don't want to come here, but it doesn't explain why they don't want to go anywhere. So you don't like that church, or that church changed their philosophy, or maybe you grew and you just grew in a different area and that's just not your thing. You want to go find another church that's still Bible believing, but you know, maybe he doesn't have the same practices, you know, or worship style, whatever it is, then go there. But don't give up on God.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. We just can't give up on our faith.
Yeah. No, I just had a conversation with a friend not too long ago. He's talking about, he's like, my dad always taught me, you don't just like up and leave and quit church to go find a new church. He's like, because you'll never find the perfect church.
Right.
Always try to be a part of it and to better it. And that means you volunteering, serving, being involved.
Right.
And he's like, there's always going to be gaps and holes to fill. Do your part. Do everything you can to help fill and close those gaps and better it.
It's almost like another topic we talked about that. I mean, the answer to me is when, like, you don't need more critics because everyone's got a different idea.
Right.
Anyway, it's like you're always going to need more servants. You know, people who just want to get involved. You're not here to criticize and pick on it. You're just here to do what you can to help out. I think the unbelief of everyone around us is daunting. I think that's one of the things that can really wear on us as Christians, is just looking around the media, looking around at what people are saying, looking around at all the people saying, well, I don't go to church. I don't need organized religion. I don't go to church. I don't need organized religion. I don't go to church. I don't need organized religion. This is my thing. I just go out in the woods. And I think that could wear on some people after a while. Like, you see it enough times, you start to think maybe that's the right way. You know, maybe I shouldn't be here around these other people. Maybe I should just be on my own. And I would say that's unwise, and it's not what the Bible says. Encourage each other, right? Don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. There's power in being around other people and in the influence that other people can have in your life for good. And you're going to miss out on that if you're not here.
Yeah. No, it's like sometimes you listen to the media and what everyone's saying about the church and Christians, and they're hateful and they're intolerant, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be associated with this. It's like, well, what are you a part of that plays into that? Right. Me in any of the ministries I've ever been involved in and a part of and served with, has never been that.
Oh my goodness. I hear them talk about some churches this, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know one church like that. Like, there's nowhere in this whole, like, immediate area that I could think of that would fit that bill, what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get pegged to the bad example, but that's true of anything. You can look at the worst Democrat and everyone paints every Democrat out as that. You can look at the worst Republican.
Right.
Everyone paints out every Republican by the worst one. And I think that's true of Christians too. They pick out the worst Christian and then paint every Christian out by the worst Christian, which is 1,000% unfair to the rest of us. But it says, and I'll close with this. It says in 1 Corinthians 15:58, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. And that's an awesome verse to think about. And hopefully we've given you some good things to ponder this week and reflect on. If you find that your faith is wavering a little bit, I love the passage that says faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. And I found a lot of times for me that just going back and reading the Bible and getting into that is a faith strengthener. You guys all have a great and an awesome week.